Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Willis and I am the founder of Baby Sleep Trainer. I help families get their babies to sleep through the night and for naps all over the world. I've worked with 10,000 babies, probably a lot more now. I stopped counting a while back. I've got online courses, I work with families one-on-one, I've got a book. And today I am here to talk to you about how I stayed sane when I had little babies of my own. This was a time that I found to be quite a bit of a struggle. As of the time of this filming, my daughter is 13, my first child, and I have a 10-year-old son who's almost 11, and it is as if it were yesterday that I remember this period of my life. My daughter had a lot of issues sleeping. That's why I founded Baby Sleep Trainer. I'm still really passionate about it because it was really kind of a traumatic experience. But one thing that she was really, really good at, and I find this is actually pretty common with a lot of the children that I work with, is that when 6:30, 7 p.m. rolled around, she was out like light. And no matter what was happening during the day and how badly her naps went or how stressed out or whatever was going on, I knew that when that time approached, she would go to sleep and she would basically knock out for 12 hours. And all I had to do when I was really stressed out during the day is know that when bedtime came, she was going to fall asleep. And I remember I had this like visual in my mind of like clocking out, be like, okay, I'm done being a mom right now. Along with that, the other thing that brought a lot of peace to my life during the day was schedules, predictable schedules. I don't know if you've ever heard the term highly sensitive person. I feel like there's a term and a phrase and a label for every single person and everything that they experience, but HSP is something that I would say I identify with. I feel like things stress me out, sounds stress me out. My own kids really stress me out. I wouldn't describe myself as a very patient person, but highly sensitive people tend to really like schedules because it's very predictable. You know when your breaks will be, you have a sense of how long your child will sleep, you can bifurcate your day into like all these, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and I found that to bring me a lot of sanity. I had this whole other life after 7 o'clock each night. I had my first child when my husband was attending law school, and so this was also the time of day where he would, usually just be home studying. So I gave birth the second week of his first semester of his second year of law school. So that semester, he told me, he got straight A's. I think that maybe had been the only time in all of law school that he got straight A's because I was like, you need to be home. I don't even need your help. You don't need to wake up. I just am feeling like I'm home all the time and I'm trapped and I just want you to be there. So he was always home in the evenings, and once I got her to sleep, I would be like, bye. And I would just go into the city to do any number of things. I would definitely do all of my grocery shopping. There was like no reality in which I wanted to take my child with me on a train, in a subway, to the grocery store, and somehow think about getting those groceries back to my apartment was like not anything I wanted to do. I remember I would rent these zip cars. You can rent cars by hour, and I would get in the car and do whatever. Or when he was home on the weekends and he wasn't in school, because my child had a schedule, I could say, I just put her down for a nap. Don't get her out of her crib for at least an hour. I'm gonna go to this. When you get her up, feed her, do this, and he was like, got it. I know exactly what I'm doing. It made it a lot easier for him to help me, and it also made it a lot easier when my mom would come out to visit. I could write down a schedule for her, and once again, I would be like, walk into the room because the baby was sleep trained, right? And so it also helps other caretakers because you make it really easy for them. My mom wasn't, she's a very young, I think like, in her 70s now, but it wasn't hard for her to take care of my baby. Anytime my kids are facing any kind of challenge that I don't know how to deal with, I just start to consume a ton of content around this. So a lot of reading at that time around toddler eating habits, sleep habits, discipline, a lot around discipline. Like this was something that for some reason I felt really strongly about, is having really disciplined children. I'm not really sure why. I think my thoughts may have evolved on that since I had babies, but at the time it was really important to me. So I found a lot of peace and comfort in learning about my problems. And I think people do that a lot today with things like YouTube videos or blog posts and that sort of thing, but there's really something to be said for deep diving on a topic, right? And reading a book or listening to a book and learning everything about a philosophy. And the more that you learn about the different philosophies, the more you're going to attract what works for you and repel what doesn't work for you. And the easier it is for you to get to know yourself as a parent, and the more confident you're gonna feel, because that's one thing that families really struggle with. I think moms in particular can struggle with, and dads too, is just feeling confident in the choices that you're making for your children, and spending time studying this subject is a really good way to feel more peace. I remember very quickly losing my marbles after my baby came home from the hospital. Like, I had no idea that I needed unfractured sleep. And as soon as I lost that, it was over. Like, it really caused me to suffer. And you know, I will have families that come to me all the time who have a baby who's 16 months old, and they have been in a really chronic stage of sleep deprivation. I really honestly commend those families for having sustained that for such a long period of time. And I think I just was too weak. Like, I couldn't do it. It was so bad so early on with the lack of sleep. And so I think that as out of like a survival tool, I was like, I have to sleep. And I basically, you know, told my husband, like, you have to listen to the baby. You know, I've fed her. She can go at least 3 to 4 hours without eating overnight. So I'm going to put earplugs on and eye covers. And if she starts crying, you need to manage her. When I had my second child and I knew a lot more about sleep, and I really started incorporating the elements that I have in my newborn course. And what I started realizing is the techniques I was using during the day were helping him have these longer periods of sleep overnight. I was really quickly able to get him on a pattern where he would go to sleep at, 7 or 8 at night. And then I would give him a dream feed. We have a great 2 videos actually. And so I would dream feed him before I went to sleep, put the earplugs and the eye covers on, and I would tell my husband, if something is wrong with the baby before 3 o'clock, you have to deal, and set an alarm for myself. And I knew that, like, if something happened before that time, my husband would wake me up where he would be able to manage the baby. I had to know that I would be able to sleep for a certain number of hours. And really what that just demonstrates is that, like, you have to figure out what your core base needs are. We talk all about this, like, self-care bullshit. I think we're allowed to say bullshit on YouTube. All this bullshit around, like, you should get your nails done or get a massage or read a book. And it's like, forget all that. I just need to sleep. Like, I need to sleep, or I need to eat breakfast, or I have to, it's not for me, but for some people it's exercise. Like, figure out the thing that you need to stay sane and put boundaries up around that. And if people have a problem with it, I guess they're gonna have a problem with it. I definitely gain energy from spending time socially with people. So in addition to, like, doing my grocery shopping and going to the drugstore and, like, even the library after 7 o'clock, anything that I could do, I saw my friends. I really made it a super high priority to spend social time with my friends, doing anything. It didn't even have to cost money. It could just be going to a book club. I remember that I had other moms that had babies my kids' same age, and we would trade off. So one Saturday, the first Saturday of the month, it would be my turn to go to her house and stay with her kids. Her kids were also sleep trained. So I would stay at her house while her kids were asleep, and she would go out with her partner. And then the next Saturday, she would watch my kids. Well, my child rather, at the time I only had one. And we would trade off that way. And it was like this wonderful gift that we could give each other, right? Because we both got to spend time with our partners. Neither one of us had very much money at the time, or really any money, because our partners were students. I found teenagers, again, my baby, because she was sleep trained, she would go to sleep at 7 o'clock. And so I would be like, she's probably not going to wake up. She's already asleep. In fact, I remember I had this one babysitter who said to me, she must have babysat my kids for a year or 2, and she had never met them. I only would have her come over after the babies went to sleep, because that was the easiest for me. And then I didn't have to deal with drama of someone else putting them down. And then they never would wake up, and then she would just, watch them on the monitor, and then she would go home, and it was an easy job for her. I felt a lot at peace. And so I guess what I'm saying is a lot of my sanity around that first year or 2 of my kids' lives revolved around them knowing how to fall asleep on their own and being sleep trained. So if this is something that appeals to you and something that you think you need to bring into your life, check out our other videos. There's a ton of content. You can also head to babysleeptrainer.com. We have a lot of blog posts there. Of course, like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell, because we talk about all sorts of things to make your life easier as it relates to your baby sleep, but all sorts of other subjects as well.